welcome to Show Up, Stand Out online visibility series for entrepreneurs. My name is Juliet Stapleton. I'm your visibility strategist, and my guest today, I'm so excited because my guest today is Ian Anderson Gray, and Ian is the founder of Confident Life Marketing Academy and Seriously Social. And Seriously Social was one of the very first places that I've seen when I started my visibility journey early in 2017, or could be even end of 2016. So you were one of the first people that I was watching, and I was getting your emails and things like that, so for me it's very exciting that we're actually connected.
Oh, that's so encouraging to hear that. Thank you for that. And I'm glad that I was able to help you as part of your journey, because we all need each other, don't we, in our growth.
Exactly, and everyone is connected, and you never know how these are the weird ways. And I remember I really loved your branding, and I loved the picture with the fence, and it was just so bright, so just up my street.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, that I think when we start producing content, whether that's blogging or video, it's very easy to begin with to lose heart and think that nobody's reading, nobody's watching. But the thing is, people are, and you don't realize how much of an impact you're making until maybe you're like a year or two later when you speak to people such as yourself, and I heard a statistic of the percentage of people that stop podcasting after, say, 10 or 12 episodes, or with live video, they stop because they're not getting the feedback that they crave for. So it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, but that has to do with, looking for validation.
Yes.
And you have to trust with these things. It's the same if you went to the gym. You after 12 times going to the gym, are you going to have a six-pack? No, and then you have to, it's not just the gym. If you want that, you'll have to diet, and you have to be real disciplined, and you have not to, so at the end of the day.
I've given up on getting a six-pack years ago.
I'm still trying, I'm still trying, I'm 42 this year now, but I went to Estonia, where I'm from. I'm in immigration. I'm in Ireland for 20 years, and it was very weird because I was looking at 20 people in their early 20s and thinking I was the same age, or thinking they're my age, and it was a weird montage in my head happening, and then I came home and I was like, ooh, I need to do something, and so I just don't go into this kind of like a sloppy 40s, but I think I'm fine. but this is something that I've actually, the whole theme of these things were, for me, talking about validation, is that the only person who needs my validation is me. And that was a huge mindset shift for me. It's just something, a lot of people are waiting for engagement, but they're not doing enough to yet, they haven't made that splash yet, I find, and then they give up too early because, and also another thing that, and you know what, we wanted to talk about it, guys, before I go further, because I want to introduce Ian properly, and I want to tell you who he is. He's an international speaker, he's a trainer, teacher, web developer, and a consultant, and he helps business owners level up impact and authority by confidently using live video. And this is why we're talking about live video. And this is why Ian, in some mysterious way, but he was one of the first ones who inspired me to take action and to do more. And here we are, so this is how we're all connected. So when I was talking about this, the engagement, and, I wanted to ask you about the biggest mistakes when starting to do the live video. And we kind of naturally started talking about it already. So
yeah, that's true.
Yes, in my experience, one of those things is when people are expecting engagement from the start, and yet engagement takes a few months of very, very consistent content. How, in your experience, is there any other kind of big floppy mistakes that people are making when they start, and they shouldn't be? We should stop them.
How long have you got?
I can talk.
There's loads of things. I mean, yes, that is one issue. Facebook make it difficult for us because they put the number of viewers that are watching live as a big number in the corner of your live video, so you can't get away from it. And the thing is, whether you have 0 or 1 or 2 live viewers, you may have the opposite problem. You may have hundreds later on, and that's going to you're going to have the opposite problem then, because you're going to be scared that you've got so many people watching. So don't worry about the number of people watching, because one of the great things about live video is that people will watch it later as well, the replay viewers. So you may not have that many to begin with watching live, but don't forget the replay viewers. But yeah, let's talk about some other issues that people face. And it's I like to put it into three categories. There's confidence in front of the camera. So there's that lack of confidence and feeling that everything's going to be a disaster, that people are going to judge you with the way you look and the way you sound. The second one is confidence with the technology. And at the beginning, my goodness, how many things can go wrong with the technology, particularly if you broadcast from desktop like you're doing, because there's so many moving parts. And then the final thing is confidence with the content. And this, in a way, is no different to any other type of content that you produce. I mean, you could be producing a blog post or something like that. But the difference with live video is that, of course, it's live. And so you've got to be prepared beforehand so you know what you're going to be talking about. So I like to split it into three. For me, to begin with, it was very much those first two issues. I struggled in front of the camera, and I was just expecting everything to go wrong. I wanted it to be perfect as well, for some bizarre reason. And also, I had loads of tech problems, particularly for me at the beginning of live video. Lots of things were going wrong. Facebook Live was still buggy. It's a bit easier these days, but do be prepared for tech to go wrong. And there's quite a few ways that you can implement to make that easier for you.
Can I add something? It's a very interesting observation, because I decided I'm going to use live video for my marketing of myself. And then for a whole month, I had terrible issues. Every device I tried was doing something wrong, and it was just unwatchable. And it almost stopped me. And actually, yesterday I was listening to a talk about this, manifestation of our desires, and saying that between our desire and intention and the actual making a reality, there's a bridging process, and in that process drama starts and the technology can go wrong. And this is so funny how a lot of people are mentioning that at the beginning of their journey the technology said no, and it's sort of like it's almost like when you're manifesting this new life, new business, new mindset you have, that technology goes against you. But everything is solvable. I think also with technology, a lot of people overthink it at the beginning.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. Yeah, and do you know what? Sometimes it is an excuse. The technology, we can use that as an excuse because we're scared of going live. And I'll admit that to you today. I didn't go live for like a month or so because I was comparing myself to some other people's live video who had spent a huge amount of money on live video studios. It was like really professional. They had amazing lighting. They had a great background. And I was looking at my background and thinking, it's really boring. And so I stopped going live. And that was such a bad decision, because my audience out there were really wanting to hear my message. And I was making a selfish decision because I was so worried about my technology, my background, my lighting, which quite frankly, at the end of the day, doesn't matter, because all those things we can improve over time, that's fine. But at the end of the day, people want to hear our message. And if we're not doing that, then we're being selfish about it. So finally, I got myself together and just went live. And over time, I've improved my tech, but slowly. And I'm a great believer in bootstrapping your live video studio. Don't come up with an excuse, well, I don't have a decent enough microphone, or I don't have lighting that's really professional. Just start on your phone, and then go to desktop, and then maybe buy a slightly better webcam, then maybe invest in a better microphone. Maybe a year down the line, get some better lighting. But don't use those things as an excuse not to go live and serve your audience, because I hear this a lot, and I've experienced that myself.
That's so true. Tell me, in your journey, do you have times, or maybe you had in the past, when you were doing the lives and everything, then you started hiding for a while and then going with the live? Because, we are dealing with the confidence issue, or,
I wish people would talk about this more. I hope this is okay, me saying this, but I think women tend to be better at talking about this and are more open about it. Men, I don't know whether it's this kind of pseudo macho thing, but I just think we need to talk about it more, because a lot of us are afraid of putting ourselves out there. We want to hide. And quite frankly, I would rather I find it easier speaking on stage in front of hundreds of people than going live in front of the camera.
Wow, that's so interesting to me. I am actually a little bit opposite. I find it hard speaking in front of people, real people, and I also find it hard doing produced videos. It's a disaster for me. But live ones are comparing to those two.
That's interesting. Well, for me, see, everyone's going to be different with this, but I think for me, because I can't see people, I can't see the people who are watching. I'm only looking at this piece of plastic and glass in front of me, this inanimate object called a camera. And I'm not getting any energy from the room. Obviously we're talking, but it's still not as if we're not in the same room, and I'm not seeing the live audience in person. So for me, I find that tricky. But it's also about, I don't know whether this is the cultural thing, depending on which country you're from. It's the whole thing of live video can feel slightly strange because you're putting yourself out there. It's more about putting your face and your voice in front of the camera, and that can sometimes feel a little bit awkward. But at the end of the day, what's helped me is thinking that I want to serve my audience, and a great way of doing that is getting in front of the camera, being authentic, being real, and live video is one of the best ways of doing that. So it's putting the onus less on me and more on my audience, and that makes it easier to stop hiding.
It's so true. Actually, talking about hiding, I experience this quite often. And I call myself a visibility strategist, and then I find myself, getting off the flow and just actually hiding. Usually it has to do with some internal upgrades, which I'm okay, because we need to slow down sometimes to go to the next level. So I already learned to look at these things, but I'm so glad that you brought up how your relationships with the camera, because, and yes, everybody's different, and this is what I'm going to say, guys, and this is my big message for 2018. Build your business around who you are and what you love, right? So if you like working with people or communicating with people face to face, if it bothers you that this is a piece of plastic and that creates something, then do more face to face, do more public speaking. Don't force yourself into things too much. You still need to, some things you still need to make an effort, but don't force your business model or what you're doing into things that you're very uncomfortable with or you don't feel the energy. I find that feeling the energy is very important. For me, it's the opposite. So we're different in this respect. For me, this camera is my best friend. It knows my deepest secrets. And I kind of don't care if it goes to 1 or 100 people, if one of them will take action. That's why I'm doing this. And yet I would be more conscious if there was someone, or when I'm doing my broadcast, I'm using Ecam Live, and there is an option, if you don't have your mouth over that, the software window, you don't see how many people are watching you, and that kind of gives you this peace of mind, so live video is definitely the best place to be authentic, because if you're fake, it'll show. It definitely will show.
So true. Thank you so much for being honest about that, because I felt a bit of a fraud. My part of my business is the Confident Live Marketing Academy. Do I feel confident all the time? No, I don't. But actually, I feel that I'm in a very good place to help people who struggle with confidence, because I understand that, and I've struggled with it, and I still struggle with it today, but I've found ways to help with that. So I think there are ways to help. Start, as you said, start slowly. Don't go straight into live video. There are, you could try just pre-recorded video. You could try Instagram stories is a great way, because you're only having to share 15-second videos with your audience. And the great thing is they delete after 24 hours. So what's the worst that's going to happen? So try that and join with a group. If there are other people who want to try and go live, then join a Facebook group with other people, do a live video challenge, and in a safe group, and you all go live in the group every day, say for 5-10 days. That's a great way of doing it too. So don't run before you can walk.
That's true. Even though, again, everybody's different. I did 30-day live video challenge. Actually, it was
Wow.
37 days, because we had a 7-day live video challenge, and the next challenge, it was a personal development group. The next challenge was to do for 30 days, something that you think will take you forward. And I just did live videos every day. It was a very, very hard time for me, because during that time, on the day 4, my husband got diagnosed with a very serious condition, and we were going through this. So, but I kind of stuck to this, because I felt deep down that you have to. Because there's something in it, and I was right, so listen to your intuition, guys. But yes, this is something that, after the 30 days, I realized that I have following. I've built a following, not just people befriending me, people who follow me. That was a very strong indication of something can happen, but this is, I want to ask you, and I wanted to talk about this imposter syndrome. Sharing my personal experience with this. So I was great talking about confidence. I was great sharing anything, mindset, energy. This is something I can talk for 4 hours. The moment I started talking for my business, which at that stage I had a digital marketing agency that I ran, and I was talking about, web design and digital marketing. And the moment I started talking about my work, it's like I just felt such a fraud. I could not do live recorded. I just could not do it, because I didn't feel like I'm actually giving it all, like I don't have any conviction when I'm talking about it. And it was just, it almost stopped me in my tracks. Did you ever experience that? Harder to talk about.
Oh yeah, I'm an expert at being an imposter. And do you know what most people are? Most people are, I actually think the more successful you become, the more acute imposter syndrome can be. I've spoken to some people at the top of their game, really, and they really struggle with this. They're just waiting for the time that they are going to be found out for being a fraud. The longer you do this, the more successful you become, the worse it becomes, because you think, oh my goodness, I've done this and this, but they still don't know that I'm a fraud. And as you can imagine, I think most people will realize, when you are rational about this, is that the whole idea of imposter syndrome is false. It's a lie. It's a total lie fabricated by ourselves. And I think part of it is that it's maybe one part of our brain that wants to try and shield us. It wants us to sit on our comfy chair and not get ourselves out there. And it's also a way of us believing of the false self. We all build, I think, to some degree, a false image of ourselves that's just not true. And we're just waiting for other people to judge us and to tear it down. I also want to put something else in the mix there, that the more successful you become, you potentially hit this upper limit problem where, and I definitely had this, because I had a lot of success when I launched my live video course and my first blog post on this. It went completely viral, went mad. And then like 6 months later, I started almost like giving up. I was thinking, well, that was just a fluke. There were reasons for that happening, and I can't do it again. And I really don't know my stuff. And I started, and then I looked at myself from afar and thinking, why am I saying those things? They're not true. But I started to believe those things. And it took me a while to realize that, and to start to unpack those things and start to try and rebuild a true view of myself and work out what my identity is. And so we're getting quite deep here, but I think that was a really important thing for me to go through. And for anyone who's watching, who's struggling with this, then I highly recommend ask other people to give you ask them to tell you 3 positive things, attributes about yourself, and write them down and start to kind of build a true picture of yourself over time.
That is actually fantastic. I actually did that, but not because I was struggling. There was just a challenge, or somebody said, just post this post. And it was these 3 words that you think when you think about me. And I have to say, it is very empowering to hear what other people have to say, because a majority of things you do know that's you, and some things then you have recurring theme, in those comments, which is fantastic as well. But I have to say as well, thank you so much for sharing this. This is a hard thing to share when you are feeling like an imposter when you're growing. A lot of successful entrepreneurs have that. It's true. It's almost like every one of them have that. Some of them will make a huge launch, make a lot of money, and then just start, feeling lazy or, whatever they think it is. But actually, it's just, it's something that holds us back. So awareness, I think, is very important. Awareness of what you're thinking. So you stop yourself before you start believing these things. You stop yourself and you say, hang on a second, who is talking? Is it my comfort zone talking, or is it just a real me who with these big dreams? And I go through a lot of periods like this as well, where it's not that I doubt myself, but it's something that you get confused. And I used to be very, caught up in my thoughts, where now I separate definitely my intuition, my gut feeling, and I trust it, and I try to kind of not to listen to my thoughts. And if you don't mind on this interview to share, guys, maybe for some of you, you can post something, can ask other people what they feel about you. You can journal and you can write down. Just keep writing. What do you love about yourself? Do it for 21 days. You won't believe what's going to happen.
And that's so hard. I don't know whether but writing about yourself, writing down positive attributes of yourself for many people is a struggle. I just,
for me too. It's hard. After 5,
but you need to do it. And the thing is, we tend to be very, very good at remembering when people have said bad things about us or negative things. So I can't believe how cheesy this sounds, but I have a Google Doc called my happy file. I need to come up with a better name of that. But
whatever
basically, what was that? Sorry?
Whatever works for you, I think. You don't have to.
But anyway,
it's a great name.
I list all the affirmations or the good things, testimonials that people have said about me, and I write that down. And when I'm feeling a little bit depressed or imposter syndrome kicks in, I go back to that file and I say, well, look, that person said that about me, and you can't deny that because that's other people saying that about you. So that's it may feel difficult, it may feel cheesy for some of you, but actually it's really, really important. And if you're going to, because the biggest enemy sometimes to our growth and in our business is ourselves.
That is
it's
so
that
true.
negative voice in our heads.
And it's a great advice. And you don't have to necessarily do whatever works for you guys. Again, build it all around how you like. If you like Google Sheets, do a Google Sheet. But if you are less organized, I do snapshots on my phone. If any comment, any good message or anything, and I have this folder on my phone, and then I back it up, and it's the same. It's this kind of feel good. I don't have a name for it, but it's a feel good folder. And I remember one of the things that made me feel very good is when one of the influencers said, who I looked up to, and I said, well, if you want such and such, you need to go to them. And they said, oh my God, I'm putting this into my brag book. And I thought, it made me feel very good about myself. And I have that I took a snapshot, I have that on my phone. So, it's something that it's really true, especially about your products and anything to do with what you're saying. Just make a snapshot or make some sort of record of people commenting positively on those things, because this is something that can bring you down. Or if you're good with journaling, I don't remember now, so I'm not going to lie or call names. I don't remember who came up with it, but there is a technique where every morning you write down 40 things why people should buy your program or your product. Because as we just said, it's very difficult. You'll write like 4, 5, 6 sentences, and then you're stuck. Try and come up with 40. And that gives you so much belief in that what you're doing is right. So I love that. Yeah, these are kind of like, I love this conversation because we're kind of different the way we are, but yet we're still coming up with these brilliant strategies that are, that people can use, people who are watching this video can use. Okay, well, let me bring this back to the Confident Life Marketing Academy. And let me ask you to tell us a little bit more about it.
So the Confident Live Marketing Academy is all about helping people it's ideally going live with confidence. And whether you have done live for a long time or whether you want to and you haven't before, it's all about taking that plunge, taking things to the next level, going live. And we're going to be looking at those three aspects that I talked about before. It's confidence in front of the camera. And my background is as a professional singer. I did a lot of singing on stage. And so we're going to be looking at how you can warm up your voice and your posture and build some confidence and energy, even if you feel you're shy and lacking in confidence. And then obviously we're going to look at the tech and the tools and the gear that you need to go live. And then finally, the content, to make really engaging content that's going to allow you to communicate your message to your audience. And so it's a monthly membership group, and it's not out yet, but it's going to be in the next month or so. So you can sign up to join the waiting list, and then you'll be the first to find out when it goes live.
Fantastic, guys. I have the link in the description of this video. So if you are inspired by Ian and his attitude and his approach to visibility and to live video, please do follow up, sign up to the waiting list at the very least. Okay, so that's what I'm asking you. This is so funny. You know, I'm a singer. I used to be a singer myself. Yeah. And when we were talking about confidence, and when you said that it was very difficult for you in the beginning, I was thinking to myself, well, probably because I was on stage, you know, for half my life, it was easier for me. And yet, see, you never know. You know, even people who are like yourself, used to public speaking, used to being on stage, but there could be some other little cockroaches in your head, as I call them, that just stop you. So we just need to not to ignore them and, you know, focus on our dreams, right? Absolutely. And, you know, I was fine speaking on stage, singing on stage, that was fine. But then I remember my first speaking gig and thinking, imposter syndrome, thinking, why on earth did I accept this? Why am I here? And then it all kicked in, all the training that I had, and I did really, really well. It was a fantastic first talk. I was really happy with it. And then I remember the first live video I did, and then that's different. You have to then change it, but you all the stuff that I'd learned before, you just need to channel that into your delivery in front of the camera. So it's all these things are different, but there's a lot of similarities between all of them. That's true. But the bottom line, guys, find something that works for you, and don't listen to me particularly, to Ian particularly. You know, things that work for us. But when you find that mix and the way and the style that works for you, that's where the magic happens, and that might take time. I believe I'm still in the process. You know, I know my background has upgraded, and you know, my camera's upgraded, and all these things. But really, it's just an ever evolving process. So it's not that you're not there; you're just on the way. So this is well. And look, find some big influencers out there that you know in your space, and don't compare yourself with what they're doing now. So, for example, like Pat Flynn or Mary Smith. Don't look at what they're doing now. Go back to their first few videos, if they're still there, and see what they're like. Great tip. Yeah, and you might be their Facebook page pleasantly surprised. Yeah. That is so true. You know, it's true. I took a course or program from a person who is really, really big right now, but there was a couple of videos in the program that they did, and they left it there because they said, I want to show you where I came from. I want to show you what I did. And it was gas because it was made on the phone, no lights, you know, it was really bad looking. And yet from that, this person built, you know, 6-7 figure business and visibility beyond our dreams. So yes, this is a great advice. Ian, thank you so much for being my lovely guest today. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I was delighted as well. As I mentioned in the beginning, you know, this is like the energy came back to the square one when I met you online. Whatever, it was 18 months ago or 2 years ago, and then I'm so delighted I was able to bring you in as a guest. Guys, check out Confident Life Marketing Academy. I will be back next Tuesday with another episode of Show Up, Stand Out, and I hope everybody has a great day. Bye. Bye.